All right, welcome to Live Stream Stars. I'm Ross Brand. My guest tonight is Vincenzo Landino. You probably know him from either the Brand Boost podcast, from Scope Pass Sunday, or as the CMO of 52creative.co. I think you lost an M on there, but it's 52creative.co.
Nope, it's .co. Could afford the com.
And yes.
Could afford .com.
But you did get one for VincenzoLandino.com and BrandBoostCast.com, right?
Of course.
Okay. All right. Just making sure.
Couldn't afford
Live Stream Stars is the show where we feature talented broadcasters delivering high quality content across live stream platforms, and it's brought to you by livestreamuniverse.com, livestreamuniverse.com. Check it out. We also have a new website just for the show. It's livestreamstars.tv. No hashtag before Livestream Stars. Everywhere else you want to use that hashtag, but not on the web address. So Vincenzo is one of the true stars of live streaming. And before we get to the NFL and everything else, and he's going to act like he's all humble and all that kind of stuff, talk about Scope Pass Sunday, because you got a big following on that. And you guys really put together one of the first conceptual shows, I think, on Periscope, where you have multiple hosts and you actually plan topics and you have a theme for the show. And the two times I've been able to get up by 8:59, I've really loved it. If it was on at 2 p.m, except during
the show though.
Season, yeah, I did. No, it was awesome. A lot of good stuff, and a lot of stuff I'm taking notes. I got to look at this book. I got to check out this site. So, talk about how you guys came to putting that together, and how you see the show going forward.
We so it's funny because Amy was in Connecticut, and we happened to be having coffee on my back deck, doing some strategy, planning and whatnot. And we were watching Sue on a Sunday morning do her normal, Periscope. And we're sitting there. We're both logged in from our phones, watching it. So she's like, Vincenzo, Amy, blah, 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 blah. And we're just like, haha, okay, hey, Sue, whatever. We're typing back and forth to her. So she finishes her thing, and she's like, hey, why don't one of you guys take the scope next? Okay, so I think Amy took it, and then Amy was done, and she was like, oh, Vincenzo, why don't you take it? Why don't you do it next? I was like, all right, cool. And then we talked about it because everyone was so excited. And I say everyone, the people that were watching were so excited about it. They were just like, that was awesome. You guys, it just went seamless. And then we ended up passing it to somebody else who was watching. And I was like, I want the scope next. We're like, wow, this is so freaking cool. So what can we do? So of course, my head initially, instantly thought of, how can I turn this into a thing?
Right.
And we talked about it, and we said, okay, well, let's deliver value every week. Let's find a way to deliver value every week and make it fun, make it community oriented, and then we'll pass it to a random, someone random that's in the audience, whatever. One of the friends of ours that's watching, we'll pass it along to them, and then they can take it and they can continue the pass. So the first week we did it, we had multiple people that were like, I want to take the pass. So we're like, you know what? If you want to continue, take it, use this hashtag, and keep it going. And it ended up going for no joke. It ended up going till 2 p.m. People kept taking the scope and passing it. Jason, we fixed the issue. Sorry. Sorry, Ross. And it kept going till 2, and it went from people. There was people in Australia. There was people in England, all across the United States that were doing this. And listen. Let's be real here. It wasn't these thousands of numbers or anything, but it was a few people, and they kept passing it along. Yeah, right.
The millions. It was almost as big as the Super Bowl.
And yeah, so it took off from there. We did about 20. We did 20 episodes, 21 episodes, and then we. Vincenzo gets another right idea while I was watching a series. I was watching NCIS. I love NCIS, and I happened to be watching some reruns. I was watching through. Actually, I started episode 1. I was like, I want to watch through NCIS all over again because I haven't watched it consistently in a while. And I'm like, wow, 300 episodes. That. There's got to be something to that. And then I really started watching each season and breaking it down and saying, wow, there's themes to each season. There's a protagonists, that there's antagonists. There's something to this whole, like, if Hollywood's doing it, there's got to be something to it. And so I called Sue and Amy. I said, ladies, I have an idea. Let's try something. I said, let's start doing seasons with a main theme throughout the season, and we'll each talk seamlessly about a topic instead of the three of us kind of, not that we were rambling, but we would all have like very, very different topics. So now it's one underlying topic we each take a breakdown of that topic. So like the first week was like, what is entrepreneurship? I took risk. Amy took organization. Sue took management, because we defined entrepreneurship as, risk, management, organization. We had a definition for it that we went off of. And yeah, we're going to be on episode 3. 3 or 4 of season 2. So we'll go 10 episodes. We're on this coming week is episode 4, but we're tackling one problem for the entire season, 10 episodes. And then what we will do is we'll package them all together, and we'll put them up on a website so that people can watch the replay, but they can watch each episode, which they end up about 45 to 50 minutes each. And what we've done is the first person kicking off introduces everybody. So then when you get to the second and third person, they're not wasting time introducing. They're getting right into information, right into the content. So far, so good. There's a lot of interest in it, but it's fun. It's fun to do. And listen, it takes an hour of our time on a Sunday. We prep during the week. We always prep. We have conference calls. So it probably overall, we take about 3.5, 4 hours a week. We care about the community. We care about the people that have been watching, and we wanted to give them something really, really great to watch and listen to. And then we throw recaps in our Facebook group, which is now close to 600 members. Now, remember, this is something that organically happened about 26 weeks ago. Right. And we're up to about 600 members in the Facebook group. We're not selling anything. We're not pitching anything. It's just, we're giving content. And if people want to subscribe to us individually, great. If not, cool. Come watch us on Sundays, because we're doing it anyway.
And do you still pass it along? Like if somebody else still wants it? Okay.
So we stopped that, because what happened was, and this is no knock to anybody, but this goes perfectly with the NFL, what we're going to talk about in a little bit, but it goes right along with the NFL and how they protect the shield. I got very protective of Go Pass Sunday, and Amy and Sue did too. So it was like, well, that's great if we pass it to a designated individual who is going to talk about a specific topic that we want, that we are already talking about. But a lot of times we noticed that people were just passing it, just like kind of rambling, and it was like, okay, well, it's not a brand. We're not trademarking it. You could do whatever you want, but we didn't want to pass it along, and then people were like taking it and going elsewhere with it. We wanted to focus it on that 1 hour, let people know that you're getting 1 hour of content. You don't have to go an hour and a half, an hour, 2 hours. It's 1 hour on a Sunday morning. And if you want, just watch the replay or whatever it is. So yeah, we did away with that only because we wanted to keep some consistency with, branding and messaging. That's all.
Now, compared to your podcast, you do the Brand Boost podcast. I think you're in the 60s of episodes now.
Actually, yeah, 70. It's like 70. It's marked. There's some episodes that we didn't number early on, but yeah.
So what do you which between Scope Pass Sunday and the podcast, which do you get more feedback on, like during the week, or when it's not right after an episode? Which do more people know you from?
Oh, I would say the podcast still. Either way, the podcast is daily. I do it daily. I do every day, which that evolved very quickly as well. I mean, the podcast started with 1 episode a week. Quickly jumped up to. It quickly jumped to 2 episodes a week, because I noticed that it wasn't like, why have a podcast if you're not going to produce content? That was my thing. And like, it just, for me, I didn't want to do 1 day a week. I wanted more. I needed more content, because I wasn't for me, I can't stick to writing a blog.
Right.
And I'm not a vlogger. I'm trying to get into that, but I'm not a vlogger. So I was like, okay, how do I, what do I do? So for me, it was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start pumping out. I started doing 3 days a week. Then I started doing 4 days a week. I'm like, wow, this is so much fun. And it became easy for me to produce. And so I was like, let me just do it daily. I mean, I record episodes ahead of time, not all the time, but a lot of my episodes are recorded the night before, the day before, 2 days before. I'll tell you right now, it's become fun for me. It's become a blast to do. I love giving great content, but yeah, I would say the podcast is still my baby, and I don't plan on slowing down anytime soon. People ask me all the time. Like, actually, last night I recorded today's episode. I recorded it, I don't know, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I was laying in bed and I recorded it because I was just like, okay, got to get it out there. It wasn't that I forgot. It was just that I had backed up all day. So I'm like, I'm dedicated to producing the content. I don't want to miss a day on it. So, and I get feedback on everything. I mean, I've actually started to tell people on the podcast, you can Snapchat me, and people have been snapping me saying, wow, love the episode, or giving me their feedback and thoughts, which is really, really cool. I didn't expect it to happen. It just started happening organically to the point where enough people started snapping me, telling me how, like, that they enjoyed it, that I was like, okay, well, I'm going to start telling people to start snapping me instead of just tweeting at me or, email me or whatever. And it's been super, I say successful. For me, it's done what I wanted to do. It's helped me land a couple clients. It has helped me get my brand out there, my agency out there, my consulting work out there. So the podcast is tremendous. But one thing I'll say, like, the underlying similarity between the podcast and Scope Past Sunday is it's consistent. You're getting Scope Past Sunday on Sundays. You're getting my podcast every day at 4 a.m. Eastern. So, yeah. Sorry, I know I went on a tangent there.
You stick to the schedule.
You have to.
I think it's great. Like, I mean, there's such a value in evergreen content and in interviewing somebody, a guest on a topic that, 30 years from now is still going to be good, solid business advice, or at least, 6 months from now is still relevant to what's going on in social media and marketing and stuff like that. But there's a value too, like, what I like about your podcast is I like hearing what you have to say about what's going on in the news. Like something's happening related to live streaming, relating to sports and marketing or whatever. I know you're going to comment on it like the next day. And I think that's an advantage when everybody else is just, not everybody else, but so many people now are so heavily focused on evergreen content, which is great if I find them through a Google search. But if I'm not looking for that topic, I'm more interested in what is Vincenzo or what is somebody else who's broadcasting think about what's going on that's relevant to everyone or relevant to my, when you talk about what's topical, what I'm trying to say is when you talk about what's topical, it's much more likely to be relevant to me than talking about how to do something that's evergreen and could get you a client, but it also doesn't bring a lot of people in because a lot of people already know how to do that thing or don't need to do that thing. Yeah. So you kind of take a radio approach to it in a way. Like every day you kind of take a fresh look at it. Doesn't mean you don't book quality guests who you're going to have regardless of what's going on in the news. Yeah. But it's like a really fresh approach to it, I think, for podcasting.
Yeah, it is a way to look at it and say, okay, I can sit on my laurels and not give people the content that they're searching for, right? Because they're, like you said, you're searching for news, you're searching for that new stuff, that fresh content. Or I can give it to them because I'm doing it. And you know what? There's been weeks where I've taken multiple topics that have come out and I've recorded, 2 5-minute episodes, 6-minute episodes, 7 minutes, whatever it is. And I've had 2 different episodes for that day because there was 2 relevant topics. And you know what? The downloads are what talk to me, people, and the feedback. So when people are telling me, wow, that's amazing. Wow. I'm seeing the download numbers. I'm like, okay, well, people are clearly listening.
A sweet spot for the time? Do you have like,
a
certain time length that get more, or is it more the topic or
it depends,
the day of the week?
It depends on the topic. So what I was doing was, I was right at about 22 minutes, 23 minutes. And that was really, really good. I had shortened it from, some of my first episodes were, I never got to that 1 hour mark, but some of my episodes were like 50 minutes, 45. And I was like, okay, these are long. What I've learned over time is that during the week, people are more than happy to listen to a 20-minute podcast on their way to work. On the weekend, so for like Sundays, Sunday has quickly become my most downloaded day. And what I decided to do, Lauren Creedon, who's probably not in here, but Lauren and I decided to do a sports business, sports culture, sports tech podcast or series. It's part of the Brand Boost podcast. We've set it up that it could break out if we get big enough, but we're going a little longer with that because Sunday mornings, people aren't commuting, but they're just genuinely wanting to listen to something. It's like listening to the radio. And I learned that because I watched my mom. She turns on the radio on Sunday morning, Saturday morning. She turns on the radio and she listens to a radio show. And she leaves it on for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, however long she's cooking or doing whatever. And I'm like, wow, if she's doing that, there's others that, she's not interested in podcasting, but there's others that will listen to a podcast on the weekend for that length of time. So let me give it a little bit of a longer. So I've tailored the content, or I've tailored the format to the content. Tuesdays and Thursdays are I'm going back to the interview format. So I'm going to interview guests. Those will go about 25 minutes to half an hour. Monday, Wednesdays are shorter episodes. Fridays are a marketing update with Jed Record. And then Sundays are the sports. Saturdays are similar to the Monday, Wednesday format. So I'm looking at actually having a series though for every day of the week. That's what I want to do. I want to have separate like scope every day of the week. That's what I want.
And which ones? Now you record some on Blab, right? You do some of your interviews on Blab.
I came back to Blab, so I was on Blab in the beginning, and I was like, "Oh, this is great." Then I became a super audio file, and I was like, "Okay, I need better audio," and I went over to Skype for whatever reason. The compressions, well, I'm not going to go into that, but it's better there.
Right.
But now, as I'm noticing, so I was in Florida. And I recorded a podcast using these headphones, my phone using an app called Boss Jock, and I recorded 2 episodes back to back in a coffee shop on Atlantic Avenue in Delray Beach. And I shouted them out a couple times in the recording, but there was the sounds of the coffee shop in the background. Like I said, it was this was the headphone I used. I didn't even use a lavalier microphone, nothing. And I got so much great feedback from that I even decided to do a walk and talk episode where I was walking Atlantic Avenue, talking into this. You could hear there was fire trucks in the background. I let it play. I was like, I'm going to do it unedited. I'm going to see what people think. Again, amazing feedback because they liked the content. The audio wasn't horrible, but you could tell that there was stuff going on. And I'm telling you, it's crazy how much I've learned over the 6 months or so that I've been podcast. And that's the fun part. That's what makes it fun for me is I learn something new every day about it. I learn different tweaks I can make. I learn different, I learn different formats that I can take if I want this type of listener, that type of listener. It's crazy. It's an extremely fun format. But Blab, so I decided to come back to Blab for the Sunday, for the marketing update, which is recorded on Thursday for Friday, and then on Friday with the sports, Lauren and myself, to record it on Friday for Sunday. And it's the thing was, I credit Blab for really giving me a lot of exposure to new people in the beginning. So people got a chance to see me. They got to listen to the content, the format of the podcast, and they got to do it right here. They got to comment. They felt like part of the action. So when I started saying, "Hey, this is a podcast up on iTunes and Stitcher and SoundCloud," they're like, "Oh yeah, I've already heard that before. I've seen it. I've seen the guy's face. I know what he looks like. I know what his guests are." So it was fun. It became a way to do it. So I'm bringing it back.
So you're not as concerned about the audio quality versus the other benefits of using Blab. Now, when you record your podcast, you're taking the audio that Blab sends you, right? And then you're working with that to the extent that you do production, right? Mm-hmm. There's no other way to capture the audio from a Blab, or have you found another way that you're using?
There is other ways.
Oh, okay.
But I have found that the audio is it's good enough. Okay, it's good enough. And I could use my mixer and I could go and record, use Blab, but not record the Blab audio and just do it on Blab and have, the mixer and the digital recorder. It's,
and you could have your guest patch in another way, right? They could like call in and be using a mic and a phone or something, right? I mean, there's several different ways.
There's
you could capture
a lot of
that.
different ways, but like Richard just asked me, do I repurpose my scopes and Blabs or do you have a team? I had a team, and I don't have a team dedicated to this right now. Owning the agency, I have work. And so I'm like, you know what? I've streamlined it. I figured out how to do it to the point where I can be very efficient with getting it done. Just doing it myself. Is it sustainable? Probably not. Eventually I'm going to have somebody dedicated to doing all this content. But I love doing it myself. And there's a difference between like loving it and just doing it. I truly enjoy it. Like I want to hear, I look at the sound waves and I'm like, okay, there's my I know exactly where my ums are. I know exactly when I say certain words just by looking at the wave pattern. Like to me, that's a learn. But I wasn't a producer or a studio guy ever. Now I'm recording. Now I'm editing video. I'm editing audio, and I love it. So yeah, it's been a tremendous learning curve. But again, I enjoy the journey, right? It's not about the destination. Right. It's not about the downloads. Like that'll come, but I'm just genuinely enjoying the podcast. I'm myself. I don't fake it. I swear on it when I have to. And, I don't overdo it. I'm not, you can tell, you'll know I'm not overdoing it, but if I do, I do. And it is what it is. Thanks guys over here. You guys are awesome. Yeah, here's the thing. There were some people that are like, "Oh, you're trying to be like Gary Vaynerchuk." I'm like, no, I respect Gary Vaynerchuk and whatnot, but I'm not trying to be like him. This is, there's lots of people in this world that swear and say different words, But so for me, like, I'm not trying to cuss just for the sake of cussing. Like, if I say something and it slips up or it comes out, like, well, whatever.
So let's turn to your new program. She's on First, focusing on sports and particularly sports issues, not in the major sports media you wouldn't necessarily see on Sports Center. And one of the issues you addressed in your first episode, I believe, you talked about the NFL lifting its ban on live streaming. Let's first define for people what that means. That doesn't mean like I can go to a game with a camera and shoot the entire game Correct. From kickoff to end, call play-by-play, sell sponsorships, and put CBS or NBC or, the other networks out of business. What it means is there's more access that the players can have themselves, right? Or with a team official or something like that during certain times during the week, right? I mean, it's rather limited at this point, but it still is accepting that Periscope, and they talked, I think, at least in one article I looked at, they talked about Meerkat, but essentially this is about Periscope, right? They talked about...
It's about live streaming in general.
Yeah. So what do you think? I mean, what do you think this means for the NFL, for marketers? Because the NFL already does a great job in capturing a lot of behind-the-scenes sound and video and really does great productions, regardless of, whether you like the game, you don't like the game. From a technical standpoint, they're brilliant at putting together a story.
Listen, here's the thing. I think, and Lauren says it way better than I do on the podcast, but the reason the NFL is going to do this, there's definitely like cable. I think it had a lot to do with cable deals in the beginning, and now it's saying, okay, well, we're losing viewers to the second screen, right? We're losing commercials, advertisers to the second screen. So how do we keep people watching our content through? Listen, the NFL is a business. They just want you on there watching their stuff all the time. If you could watch NFL-related content 7 days a week, why not? So for them, it's getting you into the locker room. It's getting you into, and I'm going to use the Pittsburgh Penguins in the NHL, and Brian Fanzo and myself, as Penguins fans, we watched them Periscope some of the Penguins players on their way to award shows, getting dressed, doing their ties. Like, listen, maybe you're not into it, but if you're a fan, and this is what I love that Lauren brings to the podcast, it's also sports culture. Sports fan culture is huge, and that's a huge reason why the NFL is realizing, like, hold on a second, there's fans that'll watch anything. If we and Periscope a live stream of, a kicker from the Steelers just practicing in practice, kicking field goals, like, we're going to go crazy and watch this stuff, right? If we're going to watch interviews, behind the scenes interviews, if I can watch an entire press conference and I can see it on my phone of, the second string left tackle, whereas I'm probably not going to see that anywhere on television, you're going to find people watching. So it's just all it's doing is monetizing every last ounce out of the NFL. Now it's not just, and I'm going to use all Steelers references, it's not just Ben Roethlisberger that you're going to see. It's, like I said, the backup left tackle, it's the backup linebackers, it's the special teams players. It's now you're going to be interested in everybody. Now everybody is I guess sponsorable or sellable. And,
right.
and in the article, and again, I'm going to give credit to Lauren, but she said it's not free reign. They're just putting control on it. It's kind of like, legalizing some, like drugs or people wanting to legalize certain things. It's only so that the government can tax it. So if they ever do legalize, let's just say marijuana, it's just to tax it so they can make more money. The same thing with the NFL. They're allowing it so they can find a way to make more money on it. I mean, let's be real here. It's all they're doing. Right. And listen, it's a great move for the NFL. Shows like Hard Knocks on HBO kill it. People love watching that stuff. They love watching their coaches and their players playing, behind the scenes or in training camp.
That's a question, though, because there's so much behind the scenes stuff that the NFL's already kind of giving you a view in, to the extent that it wants to. It's still, everything's still, judgment calls. They're not gonna let you see the playbook or something like that. But there's already Hard Knocks. There's Inside the NFL. There's a zillion different shows. Each team probably has 2 or 3 magazine shows during the week in which you get a little behind the scenes look at the players and stuff like that. But still, live streaming can take it to the next level. I think. Like, let's think about what it means for marketers and for the guys you were talking about who aren't the stars and the faces of the team. If one of them has an engaging personality and live streams whatever they do, like during those time periods where they can live stream, right?
Yep.
They can monetize that by getting sponsors, right? For what they wear, for what they carry, for what they eat.
Maybe.
Without necessarily hitting the field. But they've got to come up. I mean, then they're like us, right? They got to find a way to come up with something different than what everybody else is doing. Like, they're no different than any other marketer, right? They can't just, nobody wants to see a backup, linebacker just lifting weights or eating at the team lunch.
But why not?
They got to come up with something more, no?
Well,
because otherwise you'll watch like.
No, I differ, because here's the thing: like NFL, any sport, we can liken this to international soccer. Again, listen to the podcast. I'm not saying to you, Ross, but anybody. And Lauren talks about this. Lauren does a great job at explaining.
I listen to hours of your podcast.
I know you do.
Prepping,
but
prepping.
There's a lot of sports that can benefit from this, not just the NFL. And if you look at, I lost my train of thought, but if you look at international sports, like, fans are crazy. First of all, the word fan is just a shortened for fanatic, right? So what's a fanatic? Fanatic is a nut, or it's shortened for fanzo, either one. But really, you're a fanatic. You're crazy for something or for a team. So people will go and get any possible content they can. If I can now, like I said, take out my phone, I don't have to be sitting in front of my television on my couch, and I can be at the gym. I can be at work, I'm just being realistic. I'm not condoning people not being productive at work, or I'm not telling people to not text and drive, but let's be real. People would throw that up on their dash and be like, oh, I'm going to listen to or watch my favorite player. You also have to listen. You also have to realize that how about college allegiances? So the Steelers had a backup running back, Jordan Todman, who's from UConn. You went to UConn. Well, I'm in Connecticut. I didn't go to UConn, but that's the big college year. And then so I'm like, oh, that would be really cool to see. Hey, what's the UConn guy doing on the team? I think there's so many aspects that you're not even not you, not me. We're not even thinking of. The NFL has to look at it, and each team is going to have to employ storytellers. This is what's going to have to happen. It's going to have to come down to storytelling. They're going to have to decide, how can we tell a story to the people watching on the live stream? Because Hard Knocks is a story, right? There's some story behind that. If you think about the week of the NFL leading up to the game, it's a story in and of itself. You practice, there's, game film. I would love to see these guys, what they're doing when they're getting the trainers and I'm not saying I want to see them get shot up with the needles and all that stuff, but whatever they're doing, it would be really cool to see all that stuff. And as someone that's a fan, and if you're a diehard fan, you want to see this stuff. Yeah. So the second screen experience, I don't know if you noticed this, but there was something else that I brought up on our podcast on Sunday, that Snapchat, Pepsi, Marriott, Budweiser, and forgot the fourth one. They sponsored Snapchat Live Story, the Super Bowl Live Story. So they said, okay, well, we know people are going to do this as soon as the game goes to commercial. How do we capture them? So imagine a live stream. Coca-Cola could do a live stream from some Coca-Cola fan zone or whatever, and people are like, oh, let me go check that out. What's happening right there? As the game's going on, what's happening right there? Right. This would be phenomenal if, now we see commercial breaks, right? If we're watching the game from home, but people at the stadium can actually see whatever's going on, which could be nothing, could be whatever. We don't know. How cool would it be if the NFL actually had their own stream, just a live stream during commercial breaks, right? That would be cool. Let's see what's going on the field. Let's see what's going on the sidelines. Let me check out the Steelers sidelines during the commercial break. Let me check out the Patriots, whatever team you follow. Let's check out their sideline live stream. It doesn't it could be a static camera. I would be glued to it. I'll tell you that right now.
Right.
And I know plenty of other people that would as well.
And the issue is, of course, the coaches guard every last ounce of information like it's a state secret. And I find it hard to even believe that they can find enough footage to share on Inside the NFL during the week, of people talking on the bench and stuff like that. So, but ultimately, it's like you were saying before, it's a business, and business and marketing are going to win out, and coaches are going to have to adopt to that, because there's plenty of ways that you can get more access and still not be giving away the game plan, right? I mean, there's plenty of things you could do.
There's plenty of footage right now that the NFL, any sport, is producing day in, day out. I mean, by the minute. Right now we're in the off season for the NFL, and there's plenty of things going on. We're pitchers and catchers, right? Like for MLB, they're reporting in a week? No, maybe not a week, maybe a couple weeks. No, it's next week, I think. I'm pretty sure there's some teams reporting next week. I want to know what's going on there. I'd love to know what's going on during the winter meetings, during baseball or whatever. How cool would that be to see all that kind of stuff? How cool would it be if the leagues, the brands themselves embraced that and said, you know what? Here, we're going to do a live stream of it so people have to watch it on their screen. We're not going to put it on cable television, but we'll throw it on a Periscope or on whatever live stream you want. You'd have tons of people tuned into that. Tons of people glued. And for these leagues and brands, it's more about that awareness than it is selling that as a sponsorship. They don't have to sell that as a sponsorship. Right. If you're keeping people glued to MLB, to NFL, to NHL, NBA, whatever league, brand, whatever you are, if you can keep people glued to you when you're not relevant. Because listen, what do you see on ESPN when baseball's out of season? You don't see baseball, right? So how awesome would that be to have that presence on the phone? I noticed somebody said here, second screen, it's the first screen. That's, there's a lot of people that feel that way. There's a lot of people that go mobile first.
you're watching the game, but the whole time you're on your phone, you're tweeting,
Tweeting.
you're checking email, you're doing all sorts of stuff. You're on Facebook.
Well, during the
And
game,
you look up, and particularly like a baseball game, which is much more slow moving. So you can follow a baseball game and spend 90% of the time on the phone. Even football, when you break it down, it's like 15 minutes of action in over 3 hours or whatever, and the rest is huddles and commercials and let's go to the
Pretty much,
videotape.
I think, like I even watched the way my brother watches football, and he's got his iPad, he's got his iPhone next to him. He's got one screen up for fantasy football. He's got another screen up for Twitter watching. Like, let's just say someone gets hurt. He'll be like, he'll pull up Twitter instantly. Okay, what happened to him? Like, I'm going to find out. Oh, this guy's out for the game. I'm like, how do you even know? It didn't even come on TV. He's like, oh, they Adam Schefter just tweeted it. I'm like, again, there's so many lost opportunities, or not lost, they're just missed opportunities by the NFL, because now we're getting that from some ESPN reporter. Well, why, if you're the NFL, live stream it and just have a reporter be like, yes, Le'Veon Bell went to the locker room with a twisted ankle. It looks like he's not going to return to the game, blah, 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 blah. Here it is. He's in the locker room. He's on crutches. Okay. People are now enthralled, and they're watching the Periscope of the NFL.
Another thing I'd love to hear from is when there's, a lot of times a big game, there might be an ex-player on the sideline, an ex-star, Hall of Famer, or something like that. How cool would it be to just go down and get his thoughts like during a timeout or during a break? Somebody who's not paid by the networks or anything like that, who can just talk off the cuff about what they think's going on and is emotionally connected to the guys who are playing. Like, you'd get so much insight from that, and people would love it because they're reconnecting, with a former star of the team, and the team's promoting itself and its alumni and the whole thing. So, one of the things that's interesting is, like, you had mentioned that, in the beginning, the leagues were a little hesitant, right? Like, hockey now has done some stuff, but in the beginning, I don't think Periscope was out a month, and hockey was like, no, right? We're banning this right away. Baseball's been very lax. I don't know if that's because they figure the average baseball fan doesn't know how to use a smartphone, or because
no, it's still.
And I love baseball. Don't get me wrong. I'm not. I watch baseball all the time, but nobody is really going to stream like a whole baseball game. So I think it's just part of the fun of being at a game. You stream what's going on in the crowd. You stream guys warming up. I think they're pretty much fine with whatever you do. I mean, you see people like with their digital camera up on a big play.
I think baseball could benefit from having people periscoping their content, to be honest with you, like,
because they'd reach a younger demographic, right?
You reach a younger demographic, but then you're like, I want to tune into the second inning. I don't want to watch the whole. I mean, people listen. I'll watch baseball games. I always watch towards the end of the season. I watch I'm almost glued to the TV during the playoffs and the World Series. But, early on in the season, it's hard to watch baseball, especially when you still got other sports going on, with baseball. So they could definitely, and here's the thing, like Fanzo says all the time, think like a fan, right? So they got to step out and say, wait a minute, how can we keep people interested in our, and this is exactly what the NFL is doing. Right. But now I'm taking baseball just as an example. How can we keep people interested in our sport 7 days a week, 365? How does that happen? Right? And that's all the NFL is doing. That when you break it down to the absolute most granular, fact or reasoning, is that they just want people to be looking at their content all day, every day, finding more ways to either place product, to sell sponsorship, or just to build awareness so that people spend more damn money.
Right. So, live stream starts with Vincenzo Landino and Ross Brand. We have an open seat if you'd like to jump in and ask a question or type a question for Vincenzo in the chat box. Either way. Now, you describe yourself a lot of times as a digital storyteller, right, on your website. And so, can you explain what that exactly you mean by that, and why it's so important for brands to tell stories and to use digital platforms to do so?
I go with digital storyteller because Don Draper is already taken. Seriously though, no one wants to be a pitch man and ad man anymore. Like, in fact, I had Mad Men on. I have a 47-inch screen right here, and I put my computer up there, but I was watching, I was watching Mad Men, and listen, that's not real life anymore, right? There's a story needs to be told. Some people want to be told, or they want to be. As kids, we always read me a story, Daddy. Read me a story, Mom. Right? We always want to hear, like, we want there has to be a beginning, middle, and end to everything. And so when you just get jammed stuff down your throat constantly, this is my product, buy it. This is Coca-Cola, buy it. This is a Taco Bell taco, buy it. This is an Apple iPhone, buy it. Like, all of these, any good brand that knows how to tell a story, you don't even feel like you're being marketed to. If you step back, sometimes you're just like, oh, wait a minute, they were just selling something, and you don't even realize it. So as a storyteller, I call myself a digital storyteller because using social and digital so when I say digital and social to me are like almost one and the same. But anytime I'm talking digital, anytime I'm talking social media, I'm talking storytelling. I'm any brand, any business I'm pitching anything to is, how can I tell your brand story to help you succeed at whatever success looks like for you? So if it's to sell more product, how do we tell your brand story to sell more product? If it's awareness, how do we tell us, like, what do we need to do to have people understand what you do, but also want to consume that content? Because there's nothing greater to achieve for any brand or business than if people want to consume their content. I'll take Toyota, for example. They have an amazing YouTube channel. I want to go and check out the really cool videos that they're making because they're doing a great job making videos, telling Corolla, Camry, Tundra, whatever it is, like all but they're also breaking it down even more, like off-roading and different. Like, those are not anything that you even think they're trying to sell a product to, but the whole time you're watching a Toyota Tundra go through, the brand itself is taking the time to tell you that story. Or right. Telling, or even the story of how these vehicles are made or whatever it is. So it's just, that to me is so much more impressive. And if you look at any of the really, really good marketers out there, Casey Neistat is one of my favorites. He's on YouTube. Casey Neistat is an incredible storyteller, and the brands that he's done work with are, amazing. Absolutely. Like, he did stuff for Mercedes where he's like driving the thing out in Salt Flats in Utah, and Nike gave him money and he went and traveled the world telling a story, and it tied into Nike, and you never even thought about it until the end. You're like, oh my God, that's a Nike ad. Like, that's really, and the first thing you think of when you say is like, wow, Nike is so cool for doing that. It's the first thing you say. You don't say, oh wow, the marketer is, wow, they were pitching crap to me the entire time. Like, no, they were telling a really good story. I was glued to their content. This goes right back to the NFL and live stream. You were glued to their content the entire time. Yeah, all chats.
Content's the gateway drug, right? To interest,
absolutely.
Attention,
content,
sales, and right. I mean, that's how you find companies, whether you're searching for content, somebody tells you about the content, or the story just pulls you in, right? Any one of those options. So I'm so glad the seats filled up. Bruno, Real Deal Santos.
Hey, Bruno.
What a name.
How are you guys?
What a name. Sounds like a professional wrestler or something like that.
Sounds like he's going to sell me something.
Weighing in.
No, I was actually going to make a question. I was going to make a question for Vincenzo, because I think his perspective on live streaming for the NFL and everything is very interesting. But here I have a question about how can that translate it to an international sport just like soccer.
Are you in Portugal? Are you in Portugal, bro?
Yeah. Because here's the thing. The thing is, especially with soccer, because it's more available worldwide. Not as NFL is more locally, as soccer is worldwide. Everybody talks about soccer, even in the United States that didn't have a soccer presence. Now they're getting there. But the problem is, most of the content that, for example, a soccer game produces, it's owned by the clubs and not by a league. Correct. Per se. Yep. So it brings a lot of difficulties if I, for example, want to live stream something, because the content is owned by the club, and that the club then sells their rights to the channels and whatever. Mm-hmm. So the club is owner and not the league, which poses a difficulty for a live streamer, because now how are you going to live stream it and reach not only the people of the club, because the club is owning the TV cable, is owning this and is owning that, and how are you going to get to the most people without being specifically owned by that club or owned by that brand or whatever? How would you promote live streaming in those purposes? Say, for example, for right now, for the 2016 World Soccer Cup.
The Euro?
There you go. Yeah, and, yeah. The next in the next 2 years. The
2018 in Russia.
In
Russia,
First
for
of all,
example.
Bruno, are you a Lisbon fan? Sporting?
Yeah.
I am on top. Am I on top of my game tonight? Listen, that's corruption, though. That's corruption in international soccer as a whole. Listen, I follow Serie A, Italian soccer, right? They can't get out. They can't get out of their own way. They can't get out of their own way. And the more they think they own the content, they're going to slowly be phased out, because people aren't going to want to. No one's going to want to pay for that content anymore, because you can go and get it elsewhere. Why do I want to pay the club whatever those deals are? This is why the corruption runs rampant, and we see leagues that are failing, especially the Italian Serie A soccer. It's crap right now. It's absolutely garbage. So, and no, I don't watch like Premier League or anything like that. But there are Premier League. Look at what they did with opening up. It's not the Barclays Premier League anymore, so they opened it up. They got rid of that title sponsorship. I hope that moves them more into opening up and providing more content for others, but they don't care about the fans, because the fans still pay the money. I mean, that's the problem. So you said, how can they do it? They have to, either the clubs need to start thinking for their fans, which is not going to happen, because many times these are the government officials that own the teams, or high-powered billionaires that own the teams that they couldn't care less as long as they're making their money. Right. So do I think it'll happen at some point? But it's not going to happen as quickly as it would, like we see here in the NFL, in the United States, where plus, besides the fact, in the United States, they're more progressive with this kind of stuff anyway, with social media, with live streaming, than they are in Europe. And I'm not saying that Europeans are behind, but to adopt these type of ideas, they're at least a couple years behind.
Don't ask me where from I am. You'll be surprised.
I would say, I don't know. I was going to say like Spain, but probably not.
I am from Tokyo. I'm in Japan.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I thought maybe
that was a
Europe.
second guess.
Well,
I know.
She said Europe.
And
I don't know. She was nodding her head.
Yeah, and I do a lot of live streamings, all of these events, all these sports, and I'm clear out of that. We have a different kind of, policy about live streaming and everything, and digital marketing also. However, I get all those for free and a press pass for that point. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
how do you
I want free press passes.
Is that open to anybody, or you have to work for an organization?
No. I don't want, because this is on recording, I don't want to mention my sponsors and everything.
I know nothing.
Yes.
No questions. No more questions.
Yeah. And I do a lot of photography from each team that I'm in. Last year I was by the fashion show of Mercedes-Benz. And I did a live streaming by YouTube, live streaming, Periscope, Snapchat, Meerkat, what platform. I was there. New York Fashion Show knows already what I'm doing, and everybody's doing right now. Now, right that. Oh, I'm nervous. Damn it.
Don't be nervous. Nothing to be nervous about.
It's only 3 million at its highest.
I know.
Viewership here.
I know.
3 million. That's
Well,
all.
Well, and even for Blab, I have a lot here. I mean, I've been here in a couple of shows, which is there is a going area here, but still, I'm okay. I'm fine.
So
And by
you're saying
20,
that Japan, they're much more open to live streaming during events than it being
well,
exclusive rights to a media organization that
well,
pays for
actually,
it, or
you actually have to have a standards and the rules to follow before you can get in. We follow such certain steps. First, the permission and everything. I have to clear out that everything and make those policy as clear as I can be. So when I get cleared out, then that's the time I can live stream. Just like I did the baseball games here, and I will be by the 2020 Tokyo Olympics 5 years from now.
nice. Well, thank you so much, Bruno and Candy, for joining us. We appreciate it.
Sure.
You guys.
So before we wrap up, a couple quick questions for you that I think are you might have an interesting take on.
Maybe.
Snapchat.
I hope so.
You're always on Snapchat, right? You use Snapchat a lot. You
I
tell
try.
stories on Snapchat. Is Snapchat like? Should marketers conceptually think of Snapchat as live streaming, even though it's not live, it's not a stream, because you're really recording raw video in the moment, and then you're not really editing it or producing it or anything like that, and then you're sharing it?
I have a hard time not talking about Snapchat when we talk live streaming. To me, it is not the same, but it is along the same or a similar wavelength. And the nice thing about Snapchat is that, hey, if someone records their story, I can go back and I can see the story within 24 hours whenever I have time. I don't have to watch it right that second, but I also don't have forever to go back and see it. So it still has that live feel without the pressure of having to be there every second. Like, oh my God, I must have missed something. There's very, very creative ways to use Snapchat to tell great stories. One of the best, if not the best storyteller I know, Jason Yarborough. He is Jason Yarby on Snapchat. He's not 24/7 snapping, but when he does, it's always an amazing story. He started something called Snap Swaps, which if you let me tell the story, it's basically swapping. Jason Yarby, I'll post it here for you guys. It's you swap your Snapchat with someone else, right? With the account. Now, here's the thing. It is awesome because you can do that with brands. Brands can say, and it's just happened. Brian Fanzo was with Tristan Tales, a Snapchat influencer, and the Luxor used him to tell stories, right? So was it live stream? No, it wasn't the way we're thinking live stream like with Periscope, but it was a really cool story. And I think that it's easier to tell a story on Snapchat than it is with Periscope, at least the way people are using it right this second. Not everybody is using it the same way, and I know others will disagree with me, and that's fine. But I think that to do Snapchat correctly, Snapchat correctly, you're forced to tell a story. People get really sick of just snaps. And I mean, I'm a snapper. I'm not really a storyteller on Snapchat. That's because I just haven't figured out how I want to use it at the moment for business and whatnot. But I'll tell you right now, I got a client through Snapchat because I was telling a story or whatever I was doing. I was snapping about my day. I do a lot of singing on Snapchat. It's kind of my shtick. And I got a client who I had thrown up my URL on a snap. I said, hey, snap this or whatever, screen capture this. The guy ended up going to the website, filling out the form, was like, I want to talk. We ended up having a conversation, and boom, it was a client like a month later. We still had a conversation, but it was like, it was really cool. So yeah, you can look at it as a live stream, or you can look at it as a short video platform, which I think it's probably closer to short video than it is live stream. But I think it's hard not to talk about it. And they even have those live streams now, or those live, like, Super Bowl, there was a live story. they call it story instead of stream, or they call it a story instead of video. But it's a video. It's a freaking video. It's just 10-second
Right.
shots, But if you think about it, like I know Amy Schmidt-Hours in here, she does, she does her stop or her cut, whatever they're called, her videos. They're all cut motion or cut, whatever the hell you want to call them. Amy is going to help me in a second, hopefully, and type it. But she does like those stop and go, jump cut. There we go. Thank God. I'm trying to figure it out. Jump cut. That's all Snapchat is. It's the same thing. It's just you have 10 seconds to do it. The jump cut. You have 10-second jump cuts. So you can tell a story. You can do a video. Hey, yo, Pickles, what's up? So listen, I think whether it's personally, Snapchat could be the winner overall that no one's talking about in live stream. But I don't know if they'll go there. I don't know if they need to go in that direction. It's just different enough to keep people interested, but also keep them at bay a little bit right now. I would love to see them enter more of the live, which they are doing. Like there's a FaceTime feature, basically. I don't know if you can, if you're in the chat with somebody and you light up blue and with the little yellow circle lights up blue, that means you're both in the chat. And if you hit that, you can actually hold it and like talk to somebody face to face, like FaceTime. So
So you really are live streaming then, but one-on-one in a private.
One-on-one. But
it's a similar concept.
But who's to say they can't go in that direction? I don't know. I mean,
right.
Again, I'm not them, and the thing with me is that I don't try and go too deep into like, oh, Evan Spiegel did this and he did that and blah blah blah, and Jack did this with Twitter. Like, I don't care. I'll learn about what I learn about when I learn about it, and that's what keeps me learning about things as much like a consumer. And I try not to get over caught up with it. So Snapchat, if I was to show my brother, and this has happened, my brother and his friends, they're like, oh, you're Periscope and Snapchat and you're not live stream stuff everywhere. They consider it that.
Right.
It's the marketers that are like, oh no, Snapchat's different and live stream is different and Twitter videos. You know what? The common person who is the consumer of this content is looking at it exactly the same. So we need to start thinking that way. And that's why I love when Brian says, think like a fan, because it gets you out of your own head for a second. It gets you out of that marketing mode. And it helps you understand that at the end of the day, the consumers of this content, they're not, I don't want to say they're not intelligent. They just don't care. They don't care if Snapchat and Periscope are different. To them, it's all the same shit. And if they're seeing Coca-Cola come across on Periscope and they're seeing Coca-Cola come across on Snapchat, they think it's cool. And that's the only thing that matters at the end of the day. Poland Spring, by the way, shout out to you guys for giving me some water.
My end here is just brought to you by Tap Water. That's
I happen to get some Poland Spring.
Last question I want to ask you. Of course, Periscope, Snapchat, you have lots of brands that are monetizing those platforms. They're using it, they're marketing, they're telling stories. What do you see for Blab? I mean, do you hear of any businesses that tell you, okay, we'd like to use Blab for something? Is anybody really? I know Mitch, who was on earlier, Mitch Jackson, has a new show on Mondays at 2 p.m., I think, and he's got a couple sponsors for that show. But in general, very few sponsored shows and not a lot I see with brands doing on Blab. What do you think? Do you think that's coming, or is there an interest? Is just a thought.
All right, I'm going to qualify this by saying I love Blab. I like what they're doing. I like the alternative to a Google Hangout that they provide. I think it's bringing back the collaborative video. Do I think Blab is the end all be all right this second? No. Again, I don't know how many users are on here because they don't tell us, and that's fine. They don't have to. But it's a lot of marketers on here right now. So are brands going to use it? Not really. Like, I know one brand that's using it, Experian, who's using it regularly. They're doing a show on here, and I'm actually going to have Experian on my panel at Social Media Marketing World, along with Atmel and SAP. So shout out to those guys, Ursula, Artie, and Mike Delgado from SAP. But other than that, no, I don't have people. I mean, there's some clients that are like, oh, what's this Blab thing I hear about? But it's not something right now I'm pushing to, to people. They don't have they don't have a private feature, so you can't use it as a Zoom or a conference or a webinar unless you want to do a public webinar.
Yeah, Ryan Bell asks, do you think there will be private features?
I don't. They say they're not going to go private.
I think that's where
if they're like every other social network, they'll start doing private blabs within a year. They said they're not doing it. So, but I don't know these.
You could see enterprises, big businesses using this for collaboration.
Yeah, but why use it? Why need a private feature? Here's my thing: why bother with a private feature on here? There's other tools that do it. You don't need it.
Maybe because of the ease of use.
Yes and no. I mean, it's easy to use, but it's also what's behind it is, or the reason that it is fun to use for those that do use it is the collaborative part. I can have a live video. I mean, I can have a live audience that's chatting with me, and we're having a conversation here. They're able to interact, jump in. That's great. But if it's private, I don't know.
What about a company with thousands and thousands of employees having a town hall on here, having but they keep it within the
Zoom
within the
or
firewall. Yeah, that's true.
Go use Zoom. Sorry, I'm just reading some comments here. There's other tools. Here's the thing, and this is to be blunt with there's other tools that do it better. So why? And I don't think any of these platforms. This is what a lot of platforms or other tools get caught up doing, is that they try to be all things to all people. And it's like, you can't focus on one thing you do really, really well and crush it and be happy living in that space. Because if you deliver a product to me that's way better than anybody else, anytime I have to use it for that reason, I'm coming to you. I'm not going to go use anything else. Right. That's my take. I mean, right now, no, I'm not saying, I'm not pitching Blab to clients. No, I tell them, I've told some people about it. A friend of mine in the wedding or event planning industry, she wanted to start some sort of show. But again, right now, what is a Blab going to do for you that you can't go and do on YouTube? I'm like, you might be better off doing it on a YouTube channel and creating a YouTube channel based around your wedding tips or event planning tips, whatever it may be. I'm like, Blab might not be exactly what you want, and it's worth a shot, but I wouldn't say go put all your eggs in any basket. That's not just Blab. That's not just Periscope, Meerkat. You can't go throw your eggs all in one basket. And as marketers, as an agency, as someone who's running an agency, and there's a few others in here. I noticed Brian Fanzone, Ryan Bell. You can't have blinders on. You can't just say to you, you have to use this product. You have to use it. That's why we're here. That's why as marketers, we're here to test all this stuff out and then say to our clients, hey, I know the bumps and bruises. You don't have to go through it. I know what works, what doesn't. Here's what you can check out. So right now, personally, if you were to ask me that question again, like you just did, I would say no. I am not saying to clients, go use Blab. I'm not telling them. I'm not even telling clients to use freaking Periscope. I'll be very blunt about that. There's clients that I wouldn't even go near it. The small to medium businesses right now, especially without much of a Twitter presence, based on their goals, I'm not even saying go there. I'm telling. Right. I've actually pitched more Snapchat than I have Periscope to clients.
Yeah, there's a misperception too out there that some people who aren't fans of live streaming have this idea that everybody who does live streaming and likes live streaming and uses it for certain purposes is telling every business and telling everyone you have to be on all these platforms. And that isn't the case. I mean, I like Blab for what it is. I'm not, I don't think I've ever told anyone other than one organization that I'm part of that we could do something with Blab. But it doesn't mean that I can't enjoy using it. And I think there's that misperception out there that we're all saying you have to be on live streaming and live streaming is the answer to every problem. It's certainly a tool that businesses can use for certain reasons. And certainly solopreneurs and, small business owners and stuff like that can get on and find clients and stuff like that through the connections they make. But I certainly see you as somebody who's really, really good at live streaming and really popular on it, but is clearly not telling every single business you meet everyone that live streaming is going to save the world or save their business or make them millions or whatever. Which seems to be like a subtext that's out there, right?
So there's a couple things I want to bring out right now. I noticed that Ryan and Brian are having a conversation and purposely in this blab, which is very interesting. I will say this. Just because I don't pitch it to brands doesn't mean I don't think it's an influencer tool to use these things. Influencer marketing is a completely different pitch than saying to a client, hey, go and use this. But that also carries a whole different budget along with it. And to say to a brand, you need to hire Brian Fanzo. Yeah, okay. I love facetiousness right now. When people want to hire a Brian Fanzo, a Tristan Tales for Snapchat, or anybody for Snapchat, or any platform, any influencer, there's a whole nother budget, but there's also a lot of trust that comes along there, right? So to say, influencer marketing is completely different. And I'm not saying I wouldn't pitch an influencer marketing campaign, but oftentimes influencer marketing campaigns are not delivering those goals the clients want at the time. Again, I'm speaking for myself and my clients, not your clients, Ross, or Backlamp's clients, Ryan Bell. If your clients are going for it, then go, please. There's plenty of room to go around, right? And the brands that are embracing the influencer marketing are ahead of the curve. But let's face it, most companies are not SAPs. They're not IBMs. They're not even SanDisk, like Ryan Bell's worked with SanDisk and they've done like product demos and giveaways. There are so many small business, medium-sized businesses that they don't even want to do social. You're going to pitch them an influencer campaign? And again, I'm not knocking influencer campaigns. I've been hired for influencer campaigns. I've worked with plenty of brands for influencer campaigns. It's amazing for brands that can accept it, but again, and I know, Brian Fanzo's talked about this. We've all talked about this. There's a lot of trust that comes along with handing over the keys to your brand.
Right.
And so, when Applebee's allowed me to do hired me to do the first live stream from Times Square, that was a pretty, I don't want to say unprecedented, but they gave me there was really no direction. It was, here, you can stream from the Applebee's account and go for it.
Right.
I mean, if I was an ass, I could have, I'm not saying I could have taken down the brand, but listen, I could have done things that were stupid. I could have, and then again, when, Brian and myself and Sonny Lenarduzzi did the 14-hour live stream from Milwaukee, or the Taste the Change 2, I mean, we were given the keys to the ship for a reason, because we were trusted. So you have to build the brand trust, and before you jump in to pitch influencer campaigns. And then let's face it, there's too many stories out there that brands have heard of influencers, and this is what I hate too, right? And this is like influencers that are out there that are getting hired for these gigs. Don't fudge it up for the rest of us. Don't fudge it up for everyone else who's trying to get influencer gigs. Go out there and represent yourself the best way. If things don't go 100% your way, don't go bashing brands. Don't go bashing whatever the agency that hired you. Keep it professional. You are the face of that brand. You are that brand for whatever time you're hired. All right. So there is a different, and I just want to make, because I know that it's not always clear. Like when I say I don't pitch it to clients, I'm not telling clients, hey, you need to go start a Periscope show, or hey, you need to go start a Blab show. You need to go start using Snapchat like crazy. But if they were to say, hey, we want someone that can do it for us, totally different story. I have plenty of people that I would absolutely recommend to go do an influencer campaign. So influencer campaign or influencer marketing and then content marketing are totally different things. These are just vehicles, Ross. At the end of the day,
that's what my point.
Vehicles. Periscope, Twitter, Facebook Live, Meerkat, Livestream, Meevee, My Channel, whatever the hell you're using, it's just a vehicle. Listen, a freaking Pinto is going to get me from point A to point B the same way a Mercedes, S63 AMG is going to get me from point A to point B. Maybe a little slower, still going to get me there. Okay. And unfortunately, there's still a lot of brands that are driving the Ford Pinto. It's going to get them there. They're happy with it. They'll get there at some point. We're good with our Yellow Pages, Mark. I had a client ask me, "Hey, Yellow Pages, Mark, what do you think about that?" And I'm like, "Who the hell is still using Yellow Pages?" I said, "Print or digital?" Both. And I couldn't even. I was like,
"You're buying time."
But again, I said, but here's the thing: like a smart, anybody that's intelligent is going to say, "Okay, a little behind the times." But I said to them, and I had a great relationship with the person anyway. So I said, "Is it working for you?" "Oh, we get tons of traffic from it." Okay, well then I can't tell you not to do it, but I can tell you there's better ways. I'll tell you right now, no one under the age of 50 is probably even looking at that, or 55 is probably even looking at, maybe even like 65 is even looking at the Yellow Pages. But hey, if it's working for you, I can't tell you not to use it if it's working for you.
Right.
It's a vehicle. It's all it is. It's a vehicle. All these tools are just vehicles to a destination. Content is king. We've heard that many, many times before. Without good content, I don't care if you're driving that, it's like, and I hate to say the pretty girl or whatever, but you could be wearing the nicest dress in the world. If you're busted, you're busted. Sorry.
And on that note,
I don't give a shit. I really don't care, bro. I mean, it is what it is. Let's be real here.
Right.
I got most of my friends in here anyway right now. So
my only point, the reason I brought that up is because you're neither for or against the tools. You're for using what works for the client, whether it's an influencer campaign, a brand campaign. You're not like people there's just this thought out there that like, okay, you're either for live streaming or you're not for live streaming. And people like you and Fanzo, who do a great job with live streaming, don't necessarily think that it's the answer for every brand, nor are they against a brand who can benefit from it using it, right? It's like, it's one of the weapons you have in your arsenal, right?
It's just another way to deliver your content to people. If your content's not good enough, garbage in, garbage out, right? I can name all of these things that we've heard for tens of years, hundreds of years. Garbage in, garbage out, right? If you don't have anything good to put into the tool, into Periscope,
right,
you're not going to get anything out of it. Doesn't matter if it's latest and greatest. Hell, it doesn't even matter if all your audience is there. If you can't give them what they want, you're going to lose them.
Right.
And I see Chocolate Johnny's coming here. Like he's a perfect example of it. He's a small business that is embracing it, and he's taking it to he's using it for himself to bring a brand awareness, to make sales, but it's working for him. Now, if he was some stubborn old Greek man living in Australia and was like, "I'm not going to use that crap," then it wouldn't work for him because he's never going to do what he's doing. I mean, he tells stories every day making the chocolate. He's got his Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory things going. I mean, it's funny, it's engaging, it's good content. But he could easily screw that up, fudge that up. He could easily, he could easily fudge it up and not make it work for him at all if it wasn't funny, engaging. So you can go listen. These tools, when people jump onto them and jump on early, you have to realize you can make or break your brand with them. All right, you can, if you're ready for it and your brand is ready for it, you could go to the next level like that. But you could also tank just like that because now people are like, "Oh, okay, well, this is what they're all about. This is the real face behind the brand." Things can happen quickly. So, and that again, it's with anything though. You could write a terrible blog post and get the same thing, or a bad Twitter, a bad tweet. Look at many brands have done, like American Airlines, the idiot running their social media a couple years ago when he retweeted the picture of the freaking naked woman and didn't realize it was going to show up on their newsfeed or whatever the hell his. So it could be anything. It doesn't matter where you're doing it.
Right. Well, thank you, Vincenzo. It's been great having you on. Thanks for staying so long. You're an awesome guest. I think you're doing a great job with everything that you're working on. Brand Boost Podcast, brandboostcast.com, vincenzolandino.com, 52creative.com.
I didn't tell you to name all these things, man. Just
but if you If you can get the extra M and afford to pay for that, we'll go. But it's 52creative.co.
.co. I honestly, the only thing I want anyone to go and subscribe to, if they care to subscribe to it, is Brand Boost Podcast, brandboostcast.com. All the links are there: Stitcher, SoundCloud, and iTunes. Go subscribe to it. Obviously, if you subscribe to one, you get them all. But if you don't listen to anything, please listen to She's On First. It's my Sunday podcast episode with Lauren Creed, and we talk everything sports marketing, sports fan culture, sports tech, sports innovation. And the reason why I love that is because I love sports, and it's content that most people aren't getting. These are not headlines that are everywhere. These aren't news items or news topics that you see everywhere now. Of course, the NFL live stream thing was a little different this week. It was big enough news to do it, but yeah, it's going to be by far my favorite series, besides having an amazing co-host on that show. But it's just fun stuff to talk about.
And of course, you want everybody to subscribe to Livestream Stars for next week's episode.
You need to. Kim Reynolds is amazing.
Always on top of what's going on in social media, in live streaming, and marketing. We're going to talk about also social media marketing conference in San Diego. Are you going to be there? Are you going to be speaking?
I am speaking there, and I'm a track leader at Social Media Marketing World 16, along with a few others here in this
track
lab.
Leader. That means you carry the baton at the front of the relay?
Yeah, that means I wipe asses and clean shit off the toilets. I mean, I have no idea. It's probably, I don't know what I signed up for.
I really should have paused. I could have paused 2 seconds ago.
I don't know what I. No, as a track leader, I get to basically be a room MC. So I'll be an MC for an entire room for a day, which is cool. Which is very cool. Yeah, I was just saying that because I'm like, it sounds.
You're on the
cool,
turntables.
I don't like sounding like I'm important. It's not important. It's just I'm a servant, really. I'm there. I'm not getting paid. I'm there to serve the event and help out any way I can. So as a track leader, I get to basically make sure the speakers are taken care of in the room, and I get to introduce them and keep people occupied if the speakers aren't ready. I mean, it'll be fun for sure, but it's not. I don't want people to think it's like, oh my god, it's glamour. It's a big deal. Like he's getting paid. No, I'm doing it on my own time.
Right.
So then whatever.
All right. So check out livestreamstars.tv. We'll have links up related to this episode. You can catch all previous episodes, see the schedule all the way through May. So great having everyone here. Thanks, Vincenzo, again, and have a great week, everyone.
Hey, Ross.